You know, there's a silent, invisible threat that's creeping through our farm fields, and it's threatening the very food on our plates. But what if we could stop it before it even starts? Today, we're going to look at how AI is giving us a whole new set of eyes in the sky to protect our food supply. Let's get into it.
So picture this. You're a farmer. Your entire livelihood is this massive, sprawling expanse of green. But somewhere in there, hidden among millions of perfectly healthy plants, there's a single sick one. And it's basically a ticking time bomb. How on earth do you find it before it takes out the whole crop? Well, that's the huge challenge we're tackling today.
And this isn't just some hypothetical problem, right? Plant viruses are total silent killers. By the time we actually see the symptoms, the yellow leaves, the wilting, it's usually way too late. The infection's already on the move, and our food supply is at risk.
And we're not talking about just a few bad bugs here. These are like the supervillains of the agricultural world. You've got the citrus tristeza virus, which has literally wiped out entire citrus groves. Then there's potato virus Y, that's a global menace. And for anybody who loves tomatoes, viruses like TSWV are a billion-dollar nightmare every single year. So, when you're faced with these invisible enemies, how have we traditionally fought back? Well, for decades, it's kind of been like fighting with one hand tied behind our back, in the dark.
The old school approach, it's all about boots on the ground. You have experts who painstakingly walk up and down the fields, their eyes just peeled for any sign of trouble. And if they spot something, well, it kicks off this whole process. They've got to snip a leaf, bag it up, ship it to a lab, and then you just wait. And you wait some more for those test results.
And that's really the heart of the problem. This old way of doing things, it's always a step behind. It's slow, which gives the virus a huge head start. It's expensive with all that manual labor and the lab fees. And honestly, it just doesn't scale for the massive farms that we rely on to feed the world. This table right here just drives the point home. I mean, look at the difference. We're going from a process that takes days or even weeks to getting results almost instantly. From checking one plant at a time to surveying entire regions. And get this, we do it all without harming a single leaf. It's a total, absolute game changer.
So, what is this game-changing technology? Well, it's all about giving ourselves a brand new set of eyes, ones that can see the world in a completely different way.
Think of it like this. Our own eyes can only see this tiny, tiny fraction of the light spectrum. Remote sensing, though, it gives us something like superhuman vision. We can put special cameras on satellites and drones, and suddenly we can see the world in a whole new light, revealing secrets that were hidden from us in plain sight.
So what's the secret sauce here? It's all about seeing in different colors, including colors that are totally invisible to us. And the real magic happens in what's called the near-infrared spectrum. You see, healthy plants are like mirrors for this type of light. They reflect a ton of it. And that little fact, well, that's the key to spotting trouble.
Okay, so how does seeing invisible light actually tell us if a plant is sick? How do we go from just capturing light from a drone to getting a real diagnosis? Let's dive into the science. It's pretty cool.
You know how each of us has a unique fingerprint? Well, it turns out so does every plant. But instead of ridges and whorls, a plant's fingerprint is written in light. The specific way it reflects and absorbs different colors creates this unique spectral signature, and that signature tells a story about its health.
Now here is where it gets really clever. A virus is kind of like a saboteur. It works from the inside out. It starts wreaking havoc on a plant's internal machinery long before we see any of the outward signs. But those internal changes, they leave a trace. They actually alter the plant's light fingerprint, especially in that near-infrared range.
So how do we actually measure this change? We use this simple but incredibly powerful tool called NDVI. You can think of it as a health score for plants. It's just a clever bit of math that compares the good light, the near-infrared, with the bad red light. A healthy, thriving plant will have a high NDVI score, a sick one, a low score. It's really that simple.
And this slide right here perfectly illustrates the power of NDVI. I mean, look at that. On the left, in natural color, that field looks great. It's just a uniform blanket of green. But the NDVI image on the right, it tells a completely different story. It reveals these hidden patterns of stress. Those different colored areas show where the NDVI values are lower, pointing to exactly where the sick plants are, long before a farmer could ever spot them in the field.
Okay, so we've got the data from these new eyes. The problem is, now we are drowning in it. How do you make sense of all of that? Well, you need a detective, a digital one, to to sift through all the evidence and find the culprits. And that is where machine learning comes in. I mean, the sheer volume of data is just staggering. Trying to analyze these complex spectral fingerprints for every single plant in a huge field, it's just not something a human being can do. This is the perfect job for artificial intelligence, specifically machine learning.
So how do we train our little digital detective? Well, it's a lot like teaching a kid to read, actually. First, we give it a massive library of these special images. Then we have the human experts come in and label everything. They point out, this is a good plant, this one's a bad one. We feed all of that labeled data to the AI and it just starts to learn the patterns. And finally, we give it a pop quiz with a bunch of new images to see if it's learned its lesson.
Okay, the theory sounds fantastic. It really does. But does it actually work out there in the real world? Let's take a look at the verdict from a few key studies.
One of the research papers put it perfectly. It said that the main advantage here is that this technology is cheap and it's massive. Think about that. It's like having a dedicated security guard for every single plant in the field, but for a fraction of the cost.
So, does it work in the wild? You bet it does. Get this. In a potato field in the Netherlands, an AI model was able to spot infected plants with 92% accuracy. That's like finding a needle in a haystack, 9 times out of 10. It's incredible.
Then, over in Greece, scientists used this tech to basically create a treasure map of 6 citrus trees. They sent ground crews to the hot spots the AI identified, and sure enough, nearly 70% of the trees they tested came back positive. It's like having a crystal ball for plant disease.
So just how good can this technology get? What's its ultimate potential? Well, in the lab, under perfect conditions, an AI model was able to diagnose tomato viruses with 100% accuracy. That's not just good, that is perfect. And it really shows us the incredible potential that we're just starting to unlock.
So, we've seen how combining these eyes in the sky with artificial intelligence lets us see the invisible signatures of disease, giving us this powerful new tool to protect our food supply. And it really leaves us with a fascinating final thought. Now that we've taught machines to see a problem that's invisible to us, what other critical, unseen challenges in our world could we train them to find next?